Good morning, everyone, and welcome to another fun and exciting episode of our college information series, specifically our final financial aid sessions. And today we're talking about merit aid, which has many different names. And we're going to be introducing all different kinds of merit aid today for those of you who are looking to keep costs down. I've said this now for the last two sessions. This is our third session. We've had a session on loans. We've had a session on the intro and kind of FAFSA, but I say it over and over and over again. It's part of the search strategy. Do not leave financial aid to the end. Do not say, you know what? Whatever we do, we'll figure out the money later, because that doesn't work. And so financing college is part of the search strategy. These four financial aid sessions are about how to use that strategy. It is based on your unique financial situation as a family. It is based on the learner. We have learners in here. We have parents in here. It is based on your unique academic background. And I'm going to say it again, over and over again, the best financial aid comes from the college. So let's get it going. We are in our merit scholarship discounting. Notice there's a lot of words there. Sometimes scholarship is a scholarship and sometimes it's just a discount. We're going to show you a little bit of that today. We are going to be doing our need-based aid, our final session on December 5th, and that wraps up the strategy options. And let's go from there. Remember, needs a strategy. Take it away, Heather.
Oh, good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining us today. So today, or this next little area, I'm going to talk about merit aid. What is merit aid? It's free money you do not have to pay back. So let's dive in. So some of these could be competitive scholarships. So if you are interested, or if you have a specific talent, you do service to your community. So it could be based on your academics. It really just depends on how you can qualify for these scholarships. But like Laura said, the best money comes from the institution itself. So always be looking when you're looking at the applications, what type of scholarship they offer, and if there is a competitive one that you can apply for. If the school has an honors program, a lot of times that's a different application, but that also can mean more money. So always check everything out. If you're into arts, you probably have to submit a portfolio or some sort. There could often be extra essays to write for certain scholarships. It just depends on the college itself. So we're always going to be looking at what type of scholarships that specific school that you're applying to is offering. Next one. Perfect. So here's some examples of academic scholarships. You can see the University of New Mexico offers something called a Regents Scholarship. They do require an extra application for this specific scholarship, but if you look at how much you can get, $24,000 per year, which will cover the base tuition, fees, and housing. So it's kind of nice. They are looking for at least a 3.9 GPA, and again, an extra application required. Here's another one for APU. Their criteria is a first-time freshman at APU, minimum high school weighted grade point average, which is nice, a 3.9. This one, they want you to make sure that you've demonstrated involvement in your school or in your community, and then complete the application to APU by February 1. So we still have time for that one, all of you seniors right here, to qualify for this. Here's an example of some artistic scholarships. So if you're in art or theater or anything like that, you can often earn another scholarship. What's nice, what does scholarship stacking mean? So if you qualify for one of their maybe academic scholarships and artistic scholarships, you can use them both. So there are some schools that don't stack, but usually the artistic ones do. So maybe they'll be paying you to go to college. You never know. It's kind of nice when you get extra money. Leadership, if you're involved in your community or in school in leadership, or you're showing some sort of leadership skills, you could apply for these specific scholarships, one at Whittier, one at Syracuse. They're all out there. We're just showing you a quick snapshot of some examples of what is out there that can be earned. And oh, can't ever forget the random ones, right? So, like for example, if you're into Girl Scouts, Hofstra University has a scholarship specifically for Girl Scouts. University of New Mexico gives out a journalism scholarship. It says press women, but it's open to any gender. Case Western has a robotics scholarship. So very random. You never know what you're going to get at some of these schools. So again, biggest thing, look at all of the scholarships offered by these institutions that you're applying to, because you never know. One might work for you.
Okay,
All right,
I'm going
back
to
to
take it
Laura.
here. And you know what, Heather? I forgot to make you a co-host so that you can let people in. So I'm doing that real quick. I was wondering what was going on. But anyway, I'm going to go ahead and we're going to talk about another kind of scholarship. The scholarships that Heather talked about, most of those need an alternate application. Sometimes it's automatic, sometimes it's not. But what we're looking at are pre-designated criteria that many schools have to automatically award aid. And this is really common, actually. Typically, they would look at GPA, or it could be test scores, or it could be GPA and test scores. A gazillion years ago, back in the days of the dinosaur, I had a full tuition scholarship simply based on a test score. That was it. That's the way my university, University of New Mexico, did it. And so one of the things you can do is you can look for these scholarships that will automatically bring down the cost based on things that are already there. Let's take a look at some different ones. I went out and I screenshotted a bunch of different automatic scholarships to give you an idea of how they work. And so this is current. I grabbed these yesterday just to see what was out there. Point Loma, you can get an idea of, they have kind of different combinations. You can have an unweighted or a weighted or an SAT. And you can see the different levels depending upon the GPA, depending upon the SAT score. You can see that put up University of Kentucky because they have an automatic scholarship grid. Southwestern, which is a private university, also has, they show you how it's calculated. What's interesting is you do have to be aware of one thing, however, and that is we give you a GPA based on how we calculate the GPA. Some of our GPAs take in everything like PE and music. Some GPAs, however, that the college uses may actually omit certain things. Like they may not add in PE. Some will add in visual performing arts, others won't. And so you have to be aware that the scholarship, these automatic scholarships they may be calculated based on a different number than the number that we give you. And that would be something to ask to each individual school. But this gives you an idea. These were all public on the website. So you have these automatic scholarships that you can look up, see what they have. I like this one. I put up Westmont. Westmont has always been very generous to our learners, both with their just plain old scholarships, their need-based aid, and also we have learners who get like the big ones, the big competitive scholarships that you have to apply for and interview for. And this is just a really nice way that they display it. You can do it with or without. If you are test optional, you can see the amounts that you need for each scholarship. If you have a standardized test score, if you're a strong tester, but not necessarily as strong GPA, you can still get those same scholarships. So Westmont gives you kind of a choice. And I like that. I like choice. Now, you know what? This has an H. I'm passing it back to Heather.
That was fast. Okay, perfect. Oh, yay. We're going to talk about tuition exchanges and discounts now. So these are with public colleges that offer lower costs for California specific residents. Um, One of these is actually kind of funny, but anyways, college offers, some of them offer in-state tuition, some of them do college matching tuition. So we're going to go through and look at some examples of what that means here. Not okay, perfect. Okay, public colleges, what are they? So public colleges in the state of California is our University of California system. So like UCLA, UC Berkeley, UC Riverside, our Cal State University system, Cal State Long Beach, Cal State Fullerton, etc. And also our California community colleges. So what does that mean? We, as California residents, some of our tax money goes to these institutions, which is why the price is what it is. It's supposed to be somewhat discounted if you are a resident. If you were to go look at their tuition costs, you would see what it would cost for you as a resident of California, and then what it would cost if somebody from another state was trying to attend that school. You would see the big difference. So out-of-state universities are the public schools in other states like Oregon State, University of Arizona, etc. So the residents of those states pay those taxes, so they get their in-state tuition price. And then as a California resident, you would pay the out-of-state tuition price, which is typically a lot higher. But now we're going to show you how you can go to school in some of those states at a lower cost point. So, Western Undergraduate Exchange, or WUI, as we like to call it, um, it is Alaska, Hawaii, all the way east to the Dakotas. They offer 150% of in-state tuition. Yes, it still sounds like a lot, but we're going to give you some examples here soon and show you what it actually means of being a California resident. So before I start talking about these specific schools, not all public schools in those states are in this program. So I just want to make that clear. You can't automatically say you're going to go to a specific school and get WUI. They may not offer it. Also, WUI is going to be depending on the school, the major that you're applying to, and your GPA, and maybe some other factors as well. So it's not automatic, but it's a great price point. So, for example, there's some examples up here on here. I always like to point out Boise State because, to be honest with you, this whole price is probably less than you would pay at some of our in-state public schools where you're, quote, getting discounted because you pay taxes. So through the WUI, the tuition is $9,527. So if you were an Idaho resident, your tuition would be $6,351. So that's where that 150% comes in. Their regular non-resident tuition is $25,000. So you can see it's a significant savings using the WUI program. If you qualify for that specific school, um, it's a good price. So we've got Oregon Tech on here, Washington State, Evergreen. I believe that's where Laura's son went and was in the WUI program. So you can see all the money that Laura saved sending him there.
I saved it. I saved a ton of money. And I'll make a comment too, because I think we should have put it on the slides, but I think I missed this concept. And that is when you put this tuition on top of the cost of living at an out-of-state college, what
It's
makes our
huge.
colleges, yeah, so expensive is the room and board.
Yeah.
And so you end up with significant savings, even though it's a little bit higher than it's 150%. That room and board, I think you pay around 20,000 at some California schools. I paid around 11,000 for room and board at Evergreen. Totally
Yes.
different experience.
So, yeah, no, Laura, that's a great point. So, yes, you have to keep in mind the cost of living at these institutions. In California, it is a lot higher. So, if you were to live at home, that's a whole different ball game, right? Then you're just paying the tuition and fees, whatnot. But if you were planning on living in the dorms or an apartment near a college, you would definitely save money going to one of these other schools as well. So, perfect. Oh, out-of-state tuition waivers or matches. So there are some states that will match whatever, we'll just say UCLA is charging, right? You just don't know. This one popped up in our lap a couple of years ago. I actually had a learner apply to Fort Hays State. I'd never heard of it myself. 7:30 in the morning, my phone is ringing, and it's an admissions officer from Fort Hays State asking me about this student that had applied here. And it caught me off guard because it was so early in the morning. He forgot that we had a time difference, but that's fine. So he let me know that this wonderful scholarship that they offer only to California residents or Florida high school residents. So you can see a significant savings at Fort Hays State if that's somewhere you want to go to school. Their requirement is that you do their in-person on campus and be a first-time freshman. So I do believe they have an online program. Um, this does not work for their online program. They want you in person, in seat. So there are going to be schools out there that are looking for residents of specific states because that's not being represented on their campus. So if you find one of those, let us know because we always like to highlight these for our learners that are looking for a bargain. So you can see here the big difference in price with everything. So all in 16,000 a year for Fort Hays State if you are a California resident, which I'm assuming all of you are. And back to Laura.
Oh, it's back to me. Um, so an interesting thing that is not known is that there is, well, I explain to my students and I say, do you know what a sticker price is? And they all look at me strangely because I guess we don't talk about sticker prices. But for those who are learners in here, you might not know, but parents know. Sticker price is that price that you see on the window of a car. It is the price that they think, it's the price that you think the car is going to cost. But in reality, when you go car shopping, you're not paying that sticker price. There's always a deal in there. There's always a discount in there. So the sticker price is what we also refer to when we talk about the cost of attendance. The sticker price of a college is that scary price that you often see on the website. But in reality, the average tuition discount is about 51% for all colleges, and the average tuition discount for private colleges is 56%. And this is what I think shocks a lot of people because there is an assumption that when you put the word private in front of the word college, you're automatically putting the word dollar signs in front of everything you do. And I have found that I can get private colleges lower than our in-state UCs. You would be amazed. In fact, you're not going to be amazed. I'm going to show you how that works. And so one of the ways that you look at it is you look for colleges where the GPA and test scores are in the top 50 to 75% of admitted students. There is a way to do that. If your kids are in my class, they know how. But when you have a student who is in that upper kind of area of statistics, they're going to get, they call them scholarships. It's actually discounting. If it's 51%, we know that it's a discount, even though sometimes we like to be warm and fuzzy and call it a scholarship. We also have private colleges at public prices. That's actually one of the terms that you can Google. And we can also Google the word private colleges at flagship prices. And once in a while, you'll get a public college sneaking in here too. So Cal Lutheran, that is a local college in Thousand Oaks, I think it is. And they have what they call the public college promise. I think that's what they call it, where they will guarantee that their rate, if you meet certain qualifications, is the same or lower as our UC system. So they are guaranteeing that if you come to their private college, that if your student falls within the right range, or you as a student, they're going to make that equivalent to if you were to go to a UC. There's a couple others that I found just through searching. Oglethorpe, Bellarmine. I don't know how to pronounce it, but I do know they have a discount. University of Maine was the first one that I actually discovered. That is one where they, Bellarmine and University of Maine actually do flagship prices. And what that means is they look at the cost of your flagship or your main university in the state, and they equal, in one case, they equal tuition, and the other case, they equal tuition, room, and board to make sure that no matter where you go, you are getting the price that you would have had you stayed in state here. Our flagship is Berkeley. So what these two schools are doing is they are meeting the Berkeley price if you decide to go to one of these colleges. And I hear that Maine is quite beautiful. So not only do you get an inexpensive college experience, but you get to do it in the cold. Okay, some colleges are more generous than others. So let's take a look at what I mean by that. So I grabbed these prices last night so you can see they are up to date. And what we have is we have a group of 5 private colleges. And I grabbed these because they're just so obviously not real. So what I mean by that is the sticker price is not real. So when you are looking at these numbers, I want you to look at them through the lens of someone who can afford to pay full price. So these are not the numbers that you would get if you have financial need. That's actually added on. So if you are from a high income family, 200, 300, $400,000, and you're not going to get any aid, you are expecting to have to shell out 60, 70, 80, 90, $100,000 a year. There are plenty of colleges that will give financial aid. These particular, by complete coincidence, I don't know how I did this. They're all from the Colleges That Change Lives list. There's a fair that's coming every July. So if you're interested in colleges that change lives, small student-centered colleges, these they all tend to give really good aid, or a lot of them do. There's one that doesn't. So we could take a look at the sticker price, and we can see that Agnes Scott is about 68,000. That's a women's college in Georgia. We have Beloit, who I think we just had a student graduate from Beloit. Lawrence, Austin, which is in Texas. Allegheny, which is in Pennsylvania. And we can see that about 98% of students whose families have no financial need, high income families, 98%. Beloit is 91, 97, 99% of those families are receiving non-need based aid. It is a discount. They're going to call it a scholarship, but it is a discount. And we can see it's built into this system. So the average amount that a student gets, you could see that particular column. At Agnes Scott, it's 34.5. At Austin, it's 33. And when you do the math, you could see that the actual estimated average cost might be a little higher, might be a little lower, depending on that GPA and that's the application. The application may make it a little higher, a little lower, but the average actual cost in all of these cases would come out lower than staying in state and living in college. So we have everything from a 32.8 at Austin College, which is in Texas. Actually, we got even lower. Beloit is even a little lower. And I think that one is in Wisconsin. I know it's cold. Agnes Scott, 33,000. And then if you are not coming from a high income family, a lot of times these colleges will also put in grants on top of that. We're talking about grants next session. This is specifically through the lens of someone who would be expected to be full pay. This is actually the average cost, not the sticker price. I think a lot of people often get really surprised at that because they just assume private, they're going to have to stay. Now, I wanted to give a shout out, and actually when we turn off the recording and we do our Q&A, I can actually show you there's a big chart of this. Every year there are two counselors. Their names are Jenny and Jeff, and they go through and they check all these prices and they give you this big chart where you can see these numbers. We'll take a look at that, but for anyone who's watching at home, that's where these numbers came from. And there's about 400, 500 colleges on this list where you can see the actual discounting and the percentage of information. So we are heading back into Heather's session. And sorry, surprise. And I'll let you take it away.
My goodness, we're going lots of back and forth today. Okay, so there are outside scholarships. We get this a question a lot, where should I go look for random scholarships? So we'll give you a little insight on some places to check out. But just so you know, very few of them offer full ride or full tuition. There are a couple, but not many. Obviously, an application process, right? I don't know any scholarship from an outside agency that's just going to hand you money for walking down the street. So you will need to apply for that. And then look for things that are related to your skills and your interest. And then a lot of those scholarship search websites, they're just kind of scams to get your email, and then they spam you all the time with things. So you could look up Google or this one website that we're gonna share with you in a little bit. Okay. So here's an example of some outside scholarships. Edison, which is nice because a lot of the people, a lot of you probably have Edison for your electric company. So that's one. Petable, so just a random, right? Pet scholarship. There's a disability scholarship with the reintegration, and then the Elks Foundation. So, and I am a big proponent of looking in your local community. So, if there is maybe a local Elks Lodge or a local mom and pop bank, so to speak, not one of your big national banks, but something local to your community, I would check with them and see if they offer any scholarships. Parents Works, your parents' employer. Sometimes they'll offer scholarships to their employees, students. Always be checking everywhere you go if there's any free money to be found. Okay, here we go. This is where can I find many outside scholarships? So here at iLEAD, we have come to trust, so to speak, Going Merry. What's nice is Going Merry has a lot of, well, it'll have all the national ones. It'll have your Coca-Cola. It'll have, you know, anything you can think of. I like to caution everybody, you can apply for those, but keep in mind you're one of, you know, several thousand people applying for those scholarships. Um, so here's Going Merry. It does sometimes also offer scholarships closer to home. And I think Laura is going to talk about this.
Yep.
Uh,
I will
please.
take it over. You notice that you have I don't know why we forgot to put Mrs. Clement. We forgot Jenna's link, but I realized it last night and I didn't want to bother her. But Jenna has a link as well. Mrs. Clement does. I have a link so you can get through any of our links to be connected to iLead and we can all see the list. So just to kind of show you what it looks like, you can just see that there are tons of scholarships and you can see that they say things like 90% matched, need more info, matched. This is based on a fake profile that I created. And so I put this profile together just so that I can, portray this information. So you can see that it's trying to connect me to things that make sense for me. It's going to ask me academic information and athletic information and personal information and identity-based information. And it's going to then go out and see what types of scholarships make the most sense for me. It's pretty good. Now it is a search engine. It's not as scammy as the ones that are out there. It does give you those scholarships where, you don't have to lift a finger. You can go ahead and just apply. But if it doesn't require effort, if it doesn't require work, it is probably collecting your data. You want to be looking at scholarships that take an effort if you're going to look for these type of scholarships. So just want to mention that. But there are some of the well-knowns. We got the Burger King, the Taco Bell. I don't know, these are the food scholarships. This was a really interesting. There's a migraine. I was chatting with a learner who was telling me about how he had some migraine difficulties. And then we opened, just by coincidence, we opened up Going Merry, and there are, I think, two headache scholarships. And so you really want to look for things that are specific for you. There's some interesting ones here as well. We also have the ability to look for the local scholarships. I'm in Long Beach, so it picked out Long Beach Community Foundation Scholarship. It picked out Edison because I'm in Southern California. You can see that there's activity-based scholarships. So the NHS scholarship, I just did a letter of recommendation for one of our learners for the NHS scholarship. So, there's all kinds of things to look at. That was here in Going Merry as well. There are identity-based. In this case, we have immigrant or we have diverse abilities, which would be disabilities of some sort. So you can see we have a wide variety of scholarship types that you can find by creating a profile and having it matched to you. But once again, I have to say this, the best money comes from the school itself. Yes, we're showing you these outside scholarships, but in some cases, the amount of work you need to put in could actually be spent earning something at a job and get you the same amount of money. This one, $1,000, that's great. It cuts it down. But how many essays do you have to write? How much time do you have to spend? So that has to be taken into consideration. But yeah, once in a while you get a big one. There's the 50. You get, other sizes. There's 1,000. And so there's a lot of scholarships, but they do take some work. Okay. There's also bundles, which I found really interesting. So you can see that there are 4 different scholarships in this bundle on Going Merry. You can apply to them all at once. So they bundle them together if they match you. When I did, this is not now, this is not in 7 hours from now. When I put together the slideshow originally, you can see it says 2022. By coincidence, the deadline was in 7 hours. So it does also count down the time, and it will give you an email to tell you which scholarships are ending in this particular month. So it's kind of a cool app. We can give you access to it if you want to play with it a bit. Heather, you want to talk about the books? I don't know why we're going back and forth so much.
I don't know either. Okay. So here's some great resources for you, probably parents more than the learners. These are great, who gets in and why. It's always a great read, because that's always the burning question. And then the price you pay for college. So these are great resources. And then the Facebook page, if you're on Facebook, Paying for College 101. I like how Laura puts on here. It's mostly for parents for help and quote drama. You're always going to get drama in these groups. So we highly recommend these resources for some financial help and college help.
I'm gonna
Yeah,
so amplify the drama aspect of it. It is so just so much drama. So if you also just need a place for drama, it's a great place to go where you can watch everybody fight with each other. But it also has good information. One comment I want to make, because I didn't normally put that in this presentation, but this book by Jeff Slingo, Who Gets In and Why, and he has another book coming out. He has a list that just showed up in my email of buyers and seller colleges. Have you heard of that one, Heather? Where and it's similar to the list that I have, where it shows you that um, some colleges don't need anything. They're not going to give you any money or offer anything because they don't need to. And there are others who are kind of trying to sell themselves, or they will give you more money. And he has from this book a very good spreadsheet of all kinds of data as well. So that could be a really good option. It's called the buyers and sellers list. And I think I have a copy of it. I just downloaded it like 2 days ago. So there are lots of places where they give you kind of that insider information. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt your slide. I could take us out of here if you want.
sure.
Okay, yes, we have upcoming info sessions. This is the last slide. So we are doing one more need-based aid on December 5th. Hopefully I will be here and not at jury duty. If not, someone will be here to present the presentation. And then we have my most favoritist ever presentation, and that is the Intro to Holistic Admissions. It is a case study. You get to be the admission officers. It's very, very fun. You get to vote who gets in, and that's where we leave our financial aid and head into our holistic admissions. So that is our presentation. I'm going to turn off the recording in just a second. I'm going to say bye to all those at home while we get ready for our Q&A. I wish you could be here. The Q&A is fun. But in the meantime, I'm glad you were able to watch the presentation.